Yo, what's good? It's Mastermind MMA, and this is going to be my stylistic analysis and breakdown of Johnny Bones Jones versus Thiago Majeta Santos. So, boom, I'm just going to get right into it. All right, so I feel like, in my honest, just like overall, how I'm going to start this shit with saying it is setting this tone where is I feel like Thiago Santos is one of the most dangerous opponents John Jones has had in a very long time. And I'm gonna tell you exactly why. And I'm not gonna lie, you guys know how big of a fucking Johnny Bones fan I am over here. But yeah, dude, it was fucking weird. I saw him like me and my one of my homies, we were talking about it, Jamari, and I remember when John Jones was fighting Anthony Smith. Jamari was like, "Oh, fucking Anthony Smith's gonna upset John. I'm gonna put money on Anthony upsetting John." And I said, "Listen, I feel like the John Jones versus Anthony. This is before it played out. I said I feel like it's gonna play out like similar to the OSP fight. John Jones is gonna be dominant, keeping him away, just picking him apart for 5 rounds, and that's what it was. And when it kind of became a thing between us. He was like, John Jones, Anthony Smith, man. I'm like, listen, I'm not dismissing the possibility of it, but I just don't see this being that time. You know what I mean? I just don't like. I know anything can happen and it's wild, and that's the beauty of the sport. But I feel like I don't feel like this being that moment. I just it's not on my radar at all. It's not making my spider senses tingle at all. And then coming to the Santos fight, bruh. And then I think before the Santos fight was even announced, I had a dream where it was after the Anthony Smith fight. I had a dream. It was just like a real quick dream. It was fucking weird. Watch too much fucking MMA. Have dreams about it and shit. But it was John Bones got fucking. He was fighting and then he just got blasted to the body with a body kick and he just dropped and it was it. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I remember after the fight was announced, I had like a dream similar to that where it was like a body shot. I was like, fuck, why, why, why in the world am I having these dreams of Johnny Bones, like the Jones era being ended? Like what are these dreams that I'm having? And I hope it's not fucking true. And when I really come to analyze it, when you look at Santos stylistically and John Jones stylistically through his history and his strong schedule he went through with champion after champion after champion after champion, all the biggest names that built the light heavyweight division, all the biggest names in the sport that built the sport, the stars that built the sport, got big with the sport, rose and ascended with the sport and the popularity of the sport because of them. And he just came in and just ran through them all. And where John Jones has trouble with, and when we seen him have trouble, if you look back to moments of the Lyoto Machida fight, shout out my guy Lyoto Machida, by the way. And when Machida came in with that blitz, everyone was like, oh, that was the first time we see John Jones hurt. I don't think he was hurt, but I think he got caught. That was the first time we saw John get caught with a good shot that really had a potential that could have put him out. But that blitz. So the reason why John is so, when he's fighting someone, like, I always say John rises to the occasion of the strength of his opponent when you look out throughout his career. That's why he's so strong in the past, because he was fighting all these amazing legends, right? And then when it came to the OSP fight, people say what they want about, like, oh, that's when he got off of steroids and stuff, and they really have. When you look at it, when you make that point, when you look at it at that lens, it does line up. So you can't argue about it because you can't argue with facts. The facts he tested dirty, right? So I mean, it's just facts. So no matter how, even if I personally disagree with it, I'm not gonna like fight tooth and nail with it, because it's like, I don't know, nobody really knows. But the fact of the matter is, they have, if they're framing it that way, that he fell off because he's got off of roids, they have a valid point because of the evidence that's out there. But in my opinion, in my assessment of it, I feel like that was part of what makes John Jones great is him and his team, and they're studying a film and game planning custom for their opponent. When you look back at John's whole career, he fought every opponent in the way that they would want to fight him. He out Chael. Shout out my guy Chael. He did what Glover would do to him. He outgrinded DC. He fucking countless examples. I can think of countless examples of where he did what the opponent game plan would be. Dude, John, he imposed it on them. He became his opponent, and he got stronger from it. And the thing is, when you go back and you look at the exception of Gustafsson fight, when you go back and you look at his lackluster, I guess, performances, you'd kind of say, I guess like the OSP fight and the Anthony Smith fight as of recently, and he hasn't had many recently. So when he had the DC2 fight, he looked incredible, and I'll tell you exactly why. I feel like part of the film study and the game planning custom for their opponent is what part of what makes John so great. When you remember when John Jones was scheduled to fight Dan Henderson, and Dan got injured, he had to pull out, and then Chael was coming in. And then John was like, "Nah, I'm not fighting Chael on short notice." And then they canceled the event, and Dana really blamed John for it publicly, and the whole team and Greg Jackson, and like that's when the real genesis of the rift between John Jones and Dana White, it started there. That was the beginning point of it. And once that happened, and Dana, like, you're a draw for Dana. But once you're not like buddy with Dana, it's kind of like on some shit. You're gonna have to go through a lot of shit behind the scenes, and whatever. But the point is, he fought Chael, he beat Chael. It wasn't an issue of being scared about Chael. I think that part of what makes him great is him knowing and downloading his opponent, and then just fucking absorbing them, and then just having everything custom to what they do. All his combinations are for their reactions and everything that they do. And he's been proven that in rematches, he's way more dangerous in the opponents that give him the most trouble. And when you look at in the DC2 fight, the way how he just so intellectually set that up, and how cerebral he was in game planning and knowing DC's weakness, because DC even called that out himself in the build-up before their first fight. So I feel like with the Ovince St. Preux fight, that's his first and only short notice fight, and it showed. But the thing is, he was dominant, but it showed that he wasn't. We're like, what's going on? That wasn't like what we're expecting, because we're expecting some like super fly shit, and it was just a really dominant performance of your picking apart your opponent performance. And Anthony Smith, same deal, full camp. But I just feel like Anthony Smith is the way his style is. It's that John needs to just keep him away, keep him at bait, keep him at distance, and just get him at range and take your shots, pick your shots. And I feel like with Thiago Santos, what the game plan is going to be is checking a lot of kicks, getting ready to block a lot of body kicks, head kicks. And the thing is, Santos is going to be explosive, which is going to have John being a little more tentative, especially in the earlier rounds, because he's going to be reading him, and really probably, I wouldn't even be surprised if John kind of starts grappling and starts like grinding him out in the first round, right? So to kind of wear him down and wear his energy out, and kind of get away from explosiveness, and really, even if he's not like grinding it out, he's going to clinch up a lot, kind of really feel him out early. And then I feel like the problem is Thiago is going to be so unpredictable with, he's got the spinning techniques. He's very explosive, very powerful. He's going to be so unpredictable in the aspects of that same kind of setup of DC, where you don't know, is it going to be a leg, body, headshot, right? With attack with the legs. because if Thiago could get off enough to get John guessing, because if John just has a game plan that neutralizes Thiago, it won't really mean much. But if they're standing, they're at range, they're at distance, and Thiago is landing some leg kicks, or John's checking some, he's throwing it, John's checking it, landing some, and then he goes to a body, John blocks a body kick, kind of goes up to high. If it's getting blocked, as long as he's throwing these things, right, getting John to think about it, then what he needs to do is have explosive blitzes and almost have what John likes to do when he's evading. He likes to keep his whichever stance he's in. Let's just say he's orthodox. He'll keep his left hand all the way extended out, and then just be backing up laterally, I mean linearly backwards. Sometimes he circles off. Well, it's not necessarily a blanket thing. It depends where he's in the octagon, where he's gonna angle off or just go back, and it's a combination of both. But point of the matter is, he keeps his hand fully extended to utilize that reach. Now the thing is, if you come in with wild blitzes and combinations, like if you come in winging hooks, it's not going to be that great. But if you're really coming in, blitzing in with real combinations, uppercuts, hooks, you know what I mean, overhand rights, a lot of different things to keep him guessing while he's backing up. If you could throw a lot of different things to keep him guessing while backing up, it's problematic. Now, Thiago Santos fought Anthony Smith, and he took him out with a body shot, I believe, if my memory serves me right. Now, back to like my dream and shit, man. Johnny Bones getting taken out with a body shot, but I mean, I guess that'd be like the smartest thing, right? Just really, really, because once a body shot, like John, if you're not gonna have success with the reach, and John is too cerebral for you to be able to get that punch or kick to knock him out, the body, dude. Once you get hit to the body, the shit just shuts down. Like no point. Like no choice. It's not of your will. It's not that you're not tough enough. It's just like the equivalent of getting knocked out. You know, your body's just like, nah, we're done. Peace. And then if he could do that, and that would be a bigger opening and more opportunity for him, because it's not just headhunting with a very seasoned veteran in John Jones. You're really having a bigger target, which also, even if it's not a finishing shot, it's gonna wear and get the gas tank down. So it's beneficial to go that way. John Jones said, I know John Jones for a fact that he's going to be training to check a lot of leg kicks. So don't be surprised if you see John, like in the which fight was it? I think it was a Glover fight where he was just like really no. It was the, give me 1 second. Honestly, it doesn't even matter. It might have been the Machida fight, Glover fight. But it was the Vitor fight. All right, there we go. I remember now. Where he was just blasting that front leg side kick to his fucking knee, and he's gonna be doing that, and that's gonna keep him away a lot. And I feel like John Jones' game plan is gonna be to really open up and not have too much time standing in range, whether in range and inactivity, in the sense that nobody's throwing, or you guys are just in that moment of where everything's in the chamber, cock loaded, ready to go. But I feel like he's going to want to get his combinations off, clinch, get on the inside, do clinch work, elbow work, lots of elbow work by John. I feel like we're going to see lots of Muay Thai from John. It's going to be lots of elbows and clinches and, tie plums, and up against the fence, try to wear him down, right? And a lot of grappling as well in those exchanges. If it gets to a point where he's got him up against the fence, then just like goes for legs, take him down. And he might go for, slice past the guard, get into a dominant, better position, start landing ground and pound. I feel like it's gonna be it's gonna be it's not. I feel like John's not gonna keep this one at a point where he's just standing for 5 rounds looking to pick him apart. I feel like John is gonna engage, and when you engage and close the distance, tie up and attack from that range and on the inside. And then I feel like what Santos wants to do is he really wants to just stand on the outside, pretty much get into a kickboxing fight. But I feel like a glory style kickboxing fight is what Santos would want to get into, where you're not like you can't like tie up too much and like you just get broken apart and like you just get broken apart to make sure you guys are just standing and striking. So I feel like if Santos could get that way, or even if John Jones plays into that, if John Jones comes out and he's willing to stand and like really just like fully just open, let's see what you got kind of deal. I feel like first of all, I feel like if John comes at it at let's see what you got kind of deal, it's gonna be incredible. It'll be an amazing fight. But it'll also be a dangerous fight, and in that scenario, I feel like that's the most likely scenario where John Jones could lose, and this would be a big upset. And if John Jones loses, he loses everything, because his whole thing, like everything with like the fans and everything, are very fickle because of his personal life. But everything's riding on his greatness. Once John loses, the whole everything just like falls apart and everything just shatters, and it's the biggest fall from grace anyone has ever seen. And if he wins, he has to just keep winning and leave at the top for his legacy to be in intact and in talks. You know what I mean? So I feel like I don't see John doing that really. He might in the night of the fight to put on a good performance, but I feel like the game plan is just to be too safe. And I feel like Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn are kind of leaning more into the Firas Zahabi grounds of, instead of putting on going for more of the entertainment factor when you could just go for the safer side, because why take the risk and utilize the tools in your skill set and your toolbox to be your opponent's kryptonite and really negate them. And if you get the finish, great, but we're not going to go out of our way looking for it. Where Firas Zahabi's philosophy is more of just straight control and neutralization in a fight. And there's using your skill set, whatever it is, in the matchup stylistically to neutralize your opponent. And I feel like I was talking to Aaron Pico before his last fight, because this was his first training camp over at Jackson Wing. And I was talking to him about film study and the benefit of studying film, and if he ever did it before. And he said he never did it before going to Greg Jackson's, because he was over at the training lab with Sam Calvita and TJ Dillashaw. And he was talking about just how with Greg and them watching film and all that, it helped them tremendously. But the thing is, when you look at the fight and you look at the execution of that, it was in a way where Firas Zahabi philosophy. You're a dominant wrestler. Your whole thing is wrestling. Although he's an incredible striker with knockout power, they're like, you got knocked out a couple times. You need to get back on track. Just get this W. He's a dangerous fighter. Don't risk it. And because of and it was working, utilizing the wrestling. So when you go to the well too many times, he just kind of knew what to do and what to look for. And boom, the flying knee. A very effective counter to a takedown, and a wrestler landed that flush, and that's all she wrote. And it was a victim playing it too safe. And you see in John, he could really be more throw wilder shit in the Anthony Smith fight or even the Gustafsson fight. But the fact of the matter is, he's just trying to establish dominance and winning. And thing is, it's all up to how John approaches this fight, because I feel like Thiago's game plan is just set in stone. Kill. finish, demolish. And he has that ability to. He's very dangerous and explosive. Older than John, but I think he's like 4 years older than John. But he's a very powerful, strong, athletic guy. And John, if John is really looking to, if John fights him like he would back in the older John Jones era, like the initial title run era where he was just fighting Lyoto and Rashad and Rampage and Shogun and all that, and just doing like that shit, Vitor and that run, dude. Like if he starts fighting like that, it'll honestly be this should be incredible. And if he goes back to that, he kind of like, all right, I'm back. I got my flow going. And if he stands toe to toe range, just ready to fucking fight and be creative and let that octagon be his canvas for expressiveness of his art form, then we're the real John Jones is back. The goat bones is back. But if it's kind of like a very like which makes sense, but if it's a very methodical, cerebral, intellectual fight, I feel like John Jones is for dominance, and it's kind of, I feel like that's kind of where champions fall into for a little bit, because they're there for a while and they don't want to lose it, so they fall into safety. I mean, like you literally saw that with that's the story of George St. Pierre. You saw Mighty Mouse get complacent. Anderson Silva never really got complacent, but because he was like going up at light heavy, taking fights, like having fun with it. But it could be a thing. I just hope, and I feel like this is going to be very telling for John how he fights this fight. If it's a very safe, tactical, cerebral plan fight, I feel like just to establish dominance and get the win, and if the finish comes, it comes. I feel like that's the new John Jones. Whatever, if it's 2.0, 3.0, I feel like that's this new John Jones, and that's the style we're going to get. Unless he rises to the occasion where he's matched up with like someone like a DC or goes fight Stipe. That's going to bring the true, pure greatness we love to see. But if it's stuff like this where he's just clearing out the division, and if he's clearing out the division, also you got like more to lose because you're just clearing out the division. So if you lose to that guy, it looks a lot worse. You know what I mean? So I feel like if he fights where he's just ready to just fight, let's just fucking fight and make it a brawl, that shows the utmost supreme confidence that the young John Jones had, and he's back. Like the true no fucks given, let's go. Like almost psychopath John Jones. And that's back. But I feel like if it's not going to be a good sign until we wait and we have those big matchup fights for him, you know what I mean? And I feel like the UFC can make anything happen whenever they want, and their bosses like that. They treat the fans like that. So I feel like if they really want, whenever they want John Jones at heavyweight at whatever time, it'll happen. You know what I mean? Before John popped right after beating DC the second time, he was gonna fight Stipe. They were making that fight for him. That's why DC got it. So I feel like anytime that they want John to be that heavyweight and have that marquee and make that moment finally happen, they will. You know what I mean? Because John will put what he needs to make it happen. They'll make it happen. So, yeah, I'm going to do another video later this week about my actual picks, but this was my stylistic breakdown and analysis. Let me think about it if there's anything else I think I left out. So, basically, just to wrap it all up, and just Thiago needs to mix it up, head, body, legs, really aim for a body shot. And if you go to the body shot more and attack more, that also opens up the head a lot more. So it's beneficial to focus on the body and be at distance. Don't get tied up. John, I put the game plan pretty well. You know what I mean? Get off your combinations, tie him up, clinch work, elbows. If he takes down, ground and pound dominance, and don't let him get anything off. You just get your shit off, and wear on him. And yes, that's my whole thoughts. And don't forget to like, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let you guys give me your breakdown, what you think is going to happen. And you already know it's Mastermind MMA.